What if I told you we know what the inside of each character's room is? The only one we've actually seen in the pilot episode was Kaufmo's room, but Pomni and Jax's rooms were both leaked off of YouTube, and we now know what the inside looks like. From looking at Pomni, Kaufmo, and Jax's room, we can tell that each character's room is color specific to their body and clothes. For example, Pomni has red and blue clothes, so her room is red and blue, as well as her bed striping. Kaufmo, although it's hard to see because of how dark his room is, if you look past the paintings and all the lighting, you can see that his room is yellow and blue, just like the clothes he has. As well, towards the top of the room, there's a red stripe, which goes to show that there's a minimal amount of red in his room and a minimal amount of red on his character. As well, he also has yellow and blue bed sheets. But the reason that we even got to see the inside of Pomni's room in the first place is because it's actually a secret teaser that Glitch dropped. If you remember in the pilot episode, when Pomni finds the exit door, she goes through a bunch of office rooms in a giant maze that eventually leads to another exit door that takes her to the void. And Kane, not wanting her to get spoiled, gets an alert on his wacky watch and goes to the void to take her back. But if you look while he's looking at his wacky watch, on the bottom of the screen was a 90s advertisement commercial style bar that showed a phone number, which you can't call, but a website that said thewackywatch.com. And if you went to it, it was a trailer for the pilot episode, meaning that this website had been up for months and months before the pilot even released. But 2 months after the release, they secretly changed it without telling anyone, nothing on Twitter, nothing on YouTube. They changed it to be Pomni asleep in her room, and I tried watching it for a while, but it's literally just a loose gif of Pomni snoring in her room. And in it, we can see a few things that give us some details about her personality. But the one thing that actually gives me a bit of info about the story is that characters can go to sleep. We know that they're inside of a video game and there's a world where they don't even have to eat, as towards the end of the episode when they get rewarded with their Last Supper style dinner. Kinger makes sure to tell Jax that they can't actually eat and they just feel the sensation of eating. So why would they need to sleep? If they were to sleep, they would just get the sensation of sleeping, but they wouldn't actually need to. But I'm sure that'll be answered in some of the next episodes. As well, each character's room can have different furniture and they can move it around, because Pomni's bed is in the back left corner while Kaufmo's room is in the back right corner. As well, each character can have their own sort of toys, which Kaufmo had some toy blocks, a rocket ship, a pair of dice, and a toy phone on his shelves, which makes sense because he's a clown and all these things relate to kids. And Pomni had a jack-in-the-box on her floor, which you can barely see in the top right corner, which goes to show that she probably has a lot of circus-related items in her room. And the jack-in-the-box relates to her perfectly because she's a jester, and what comes out of the jack-in-the-box is a jester, which could actually be her coming out of the jack-in-the-box, because anything is possible in the Amazing Digital Circus, and Kane is expected to do these weird things. Because when Pomni was looking for Kane in the middle of the pilot episode, if you look at the doors that she opened, what are all these weird things? There's a random aquarium, a mannequin in the bathtub. Kane is the one who made these. And putting Pomni in a jack-in-the-box isn't as crazy as all of that. But if we look at Kaufmo's room, we can see that it actually got darker when he abstracted, meaning that the room is actually a living thing that adjusts to your character or possibly even your mood. Because if we look at Pomni's room, it's nice and bright, red and blue, and it looks good. But if we look at Kaufmo's room, it's dark, the yellow and blue on the walls is darkened, and we can barely see because the only thing that's really shining light is Kaufmo's abstraction itself. Which makes me wonder, what does the inside of all the other abstracted characters' rooms look like? Are they now empty, or could they still look like their old character's color scheme? But when we take a look at the photo that we got of Jax's room, we can see that he has a desk, as well as an old TV from the 90s that he can play games on, such as the NES system that he's using. He also has some pizza, Doritos, Mountain Dew, popcorn, and a bunch of old comic books, as well as some things that remind me of the 90s, like the disco ball and lava lamp, which were popular back then. But if you look towards the back of his desk, the Pomni plush and Pomni poster of the Amazing Digital Circus could mean that he actually knows he's inside of an animation show and they're breaking the fourth wall. And this is also backed up by the fact that they do an intro to the show even though they know they're trapped in a simulation slash video game. Which is weird, because if they all know that they're in a simulation slash show, why do they even do the intro in the first place? Why do they go along with all these things? could Kane actually be forcing them to do this, or do they just get used to it as a way of life? I guess we'll just have to learn about that in some of the next episodes, but using the info that we got, we can guess what other characters' rooms look like. Zooble would have rainbow walls and floor as well as a rainbow bed, but the one thing that Gooseworks actually confirmed is that there's a chest called the Zooble box, in which there are a ton of different parts for her to mix and match, and this is because she's based off of the Zoobs toy from the early 2000s, which had the exact same concept of having a body, head, as well as mix and match arms, legs, and whatever you feel like doing to make a human or an alien. It was really just up to your imagination, which is the exact same for Zooble. But Gooseworks did say that she'll keep her head and torso the same, just her arms, legs, and antenna will change every episode with whatever she pulls out of the Zooble box. And apparently it's endless, which Gooseworks confirmed, which means anything can happen with Zooble. Maybe she could have an arm for a leg or a leg for an arm. Ragatha's room is probably more of a warm lavender, just like her dress, as well probably some Raggedy Ann dolls inside of the room, which is what her whole character is based off of. And these would count for Ragatha's toys, as we know that every character has some sort of toy based off of their appearance, with Pomni having a red and blue Jack-in-the-Box, and Kaufmo having a whole assortment of different toys related to kids, because as a clown he's gonna go to kids' birthday parties to perform and literally get beat up by a bunch of 8-year-olds. But here's the thing, it would be so incredibly creepy for Ragatha to just have a bunch of Raggedy Ann dolls that literally look just like her. It would be a straight up nightmare of having a bunch of dolls stare at you while you sleep. I'm pretty sure they made a horror movie off of that once. So it's possible she would have other things, possibly yarn, because we know that Ragatha's hair is made out of yarn, and she could literally have knitting as a hobby. And if this turns out to be true, I'm literally the best Amazing Digital Circus character. I'm calling it right now. And speaking of toys, we also do know a bit about Gango's room. We had a leaked photo which had a mirror as well as a bunch of different masks on the wall because her mask breaks so easily. If you remember in the intro when Pomni spawns in and starts running around, she bumps into the characters, and when Gango barely falls over, the mask falls over her face and shatters, and then she was stuck in her sad mask for the rest of the episode. But thankfully in her room she has a bunch of masks that she could replace it with. But that makes me think, why didn't she do that in the pilot episode? Why didn't she go back to her room to replace her mask? Well, maybe it's because she didn't really care, or it doesn't really affect her too much, but this is something interesting to keep in mind. But my all-time favorite room has to be Kinger's, and we haven't even seen it yet. It'll probably be a royal room with gold and purple, and the coolest part is I can pretty much guarantee that there will be a throne for Kinger in there to sit on. As well, he'll probably have his own little chessboard that he can play chess on, and some other toys that probably relate to kings and old kingdoms. But it's also possible that his floor will be white and black squares due to the fact that he's a chess piece and all rooms look like their character. But let me know down in the comments whose room you think you'll like the most. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video here.
They do not pay me enough to deal with this baloney. Get up!